For this lesson, we need to open the sample file Inventory 6 from your Sample Files folder. When you have formatted your data as a table, you can customize the appearance of the table using Excel's powerful Table Styles feature. You can either apply a table style from the Table Styles gallery, or you can create your own custom table styles. All of the predefined styles in the Table Styles gallery follow best practice by restricting color choice to theme colors. Themes are covered in great depth in the Essential Skills video in this series. In this lesson, we'll explore the simpler of the two options by applying some of the standard predefined table styles. Later, in Lesson 110, we'll create a hand-designed table style. Let's begin by exploring some of the styles in the Style Gallery. So click inside the table, and then Table Tools Design, and in the Table Styles group, bring up the Table Styles Gallery. As you hover the mouse over each of the table styles, you can see the colours changing on the worksheet. I'll select one at random. As I mentioned in the introduction, Microsoft have used best practice when creating the built-in table styles, and they've restricted their colour choices and font choices to theme colours and theme fonts. That means that if you change the theme, the table style will respect the new theme, and the colours and fonts will change. Let's see that in action as I click Page Layout, and in the Themes group, the Themes Gallery. And at the moment, we have the standard Office theme, but if I was to hover the mouse over any of the other themes, you can see the fonts and the colours changing to respect the theme colours in the newly selected theme. But I'll go back to the default Office theme. Now let's look at another way in which you can customize the appearance of a table. If you click Table Tools Design tab, notice there's a Table Style Options group of checkboxes. Let's explore these one by one. First of all, the Header Row checkbox, which can toggle on and off the header row. Then there's the Total Row checkbox, which, in a similar way to the header row, toggles on and off the total row at the bottom of the table. Next is Banded Rows. That's those different colours on adjacent rows, and it helps the eye to track across the page. I can switch banded rows on and off using this option. Next we have a first column highlight colour. This is often used when you have dates or names in the first column. If I check the checkbox, you'll see that a contrasting colour is applied to the first column. And the last column we often highlight when it contains totals, as this table does. Last column applies the contrasting colour to the last column in the table. The Banded Columns option is never used at the same time as the Banded Rows option, because that would look ridiculous. Use banded columns when it's important that the eye can track down columns, and banded rows when it's important that the eye can easily track across rows. Now we need to cover a very important pitfall that can occur when you convert a table back into a range. Before you do this, it's really important that you select the None style. That removes all table formatting. If you don't do this, you'll have all kinds of problems, and we're going to discuss those in depth at the end of the lesson. So I'm going to click None to apply the None style. And now I can safely convert the table back into a range. To do that, I click Table Tools Design, and in the Tools group, Convert to Range. And the table is now a range. Let's now convert the range back into a table. So I click inside the range, then Insert tab on the ribbon, and in the Tables group, Table, and you can see that the range has now been converted back into a table, and it has the default table formatting. Now, I always like to work with the None style as the default. Excel's default table styles are a little too colourful for me. So I'm going to convert the default table style to the None style. To do that, I click inside the table, Table Tools Design, Table Styles, and bring up the Table Styles gallery, and now I'll right-click on the None style and choose Set as Default. and I'll also apply the non-style to the current table. Note that this is only the default style for this workbook. When I open a new workbook, the default table style will have reverted to the normal default table style. I'm now going to convert the table back into a range. Table Tools, Design, Tools, Convert to Range. And now I'll convert the range back to a table. That's Insert on the ribbon, and in the Tables group, Table. And you can see that this time, when the range is converted into a table, it uses the default non-style. Now, people often ask me, how can you tell the difference between tables and ranges if you use the non-style for your tables? Well, it's really easy. If I click inside this table, you'll see the Table Tools Design tab appear on the ribbon. But if I convert this table into a range, you'll see that when I click inside the range, there's no tab on the ribbon. So it's really easy to tell whether you're dealing with a table or a range. We're now going to save your work, even though this lesson isn't quite over, because what I'm going to do next will really mess up the appearance of this table. And I'm going to do that to demonstrate to you why it's so important to set the non-style when you convert a table to a range. So I'll click the File tab on the ribbon and Save As, and I'll save with the new name Inventory 7, and as usual, I'll save to the folder above, my Sample Files folder, and click the Save button. Now let's look at all of the problems that will occur if I convert a table to a range when the table is formatted. Let's begin by converting this range into a table. So that's Insert on the ribbon, and in the Tables group, Table. And my range has now become a table with the default non-style. But now I'm going to apply a different style by clicking inside the table, Table Tools, Design, Table Styles, and I'll pick one of these styles at random. Now I'm going to do the thing that you must never do. I'm going to convert the table into a range, but I'm not going to apply the non-style. So I click Design tab on the ribbon, and in the Tools group, Convert to Range, and I say Yes. Now you might think, well, where's the problem with this? It's a range, but it's a nice colourful range. Well, the problem occurs when you insert rows and columns, because if I insert a row, you can see that the banding has now been messed up. And there's no way I can preserve that banding information in a range. But that's not the really big problem. The really big problem happens when you convert the range back into a table. Let's see that happening now. I click inside the range, and then Insert, and in the Tables group, Table. And I've now converted the range back into a table. And you might think again, well, what's wrong with that? The table looks just fine. But this table now has enormous problems, because all of those colours in the table are hard-coded into the table. They've been manually applied to each cell. And if I click inside the table, and then I try to apply a different style from the gallery, you'll see that I can't change any of the styles, because the table style cannot override formatting that's been hard-coded into a cell. And that's not the only problem. If I insert a row into my table, I'm going to mess up the banding again, because the inserted row will also have hard-coded colours. And I can't even change this table back to the non-style again to save it. And that's why I got you to save the workbook early for this lesson. Another interesting thing about this table is that there's a total row at the bottom, and you might think this is the total row for the table. But it's not. If we click inside the table and click Table Tools, Design, Total Row, you'll see another total row appear beneath the first total row. And that's because when the table was converted to a range, the totals became regular functions. And then when the range was converted back into a table again, that total row formed part of the table, and not the total row which is a feature of a table. To fix things up, I'd have to select row 72 and delete it. And now this table has a table total row, which is far more versatile than the total that we had before. I'm now going to close this workbook without saving. And you've now completed Lesson 1.9, Format a Table using Table Styles, and Convert a Table into a Range.